Welcome to Billy's Books. Today we're going to do Star Wars Aftermath Life Debt. That is the second in the trilogy of the Aftermath series. You may be interested to know that today is St. Patrick's Day, and I have not a Corona, but a knockoff Corona, fake Corona from Aldi's called Monterey. And to celebrate, let's have it. Notice the Star Trek bottle opener. Cheers. The life debt is Han Solo, his life debt to Chewbacca and vice versa. In the previous book, we saw one glimpse of Han and Chewie. They get a call from a fellow bounty hunter or smuggler or whatever, says, "This is our big chance. We can free Kashyyyk because there's a change of guard in the Empire, which happens to be enslaving Kashyyyk, which is the home planet for the Wookiees, right?" And they're like, "Heck yes, let's do that. Let's blow off the orders from the New Republic and go to Kashyyyk and save the Wookiee planet." Well, weren't they eager? They were suckers, it turns out. It was a trap. It's a trap. It's a trap. So what happens is, somewhere along the line, we don't know specifically what happened, but they fell into a trap and Chewbacca got captured. So Han Solo's out there by himself, and he has not communicated with his pregnant wife, Leia Organa, and she's pretty worried. So she contacts Nora, the star of the previous book and ostensibly the star of this one too. Nora describes, or we see briefly from Nora's perspective, what it's like to meet someone as important and fantastic as Leia Organa. She hesitates when she answers, "I'm Nora. It's a great pleasure to meet you, Your Highness. All you've done for us, blah 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 blah." It's a strange thing to watch, but Leia has this facade, this veneer. It's not haughty exactly. A bit icy, certainly confident. A confidence, in fact, that borders on arrogance. It's not as if she's looking down on you, but it is very much as if she is in command of you. It's a command that is natural as the elliptical orbit of a world around its star, as obvious and as eternal as the flow of time itself, or the presence of gravity. So, she's got some charisma, as we all know. Okay. So you know how this the previous book mentioned Han and Chewie and what they call interlude in between the real chapters? In another interlude in this one, between chapters, we go to another planet where stuff's going down, and there's this movement now that the Empire is losing, called the Acolytes of the Beyond, and they're people that sort of worship. They're sort of dumbasses who worship the dark side of the Force without knowing anything about it, and they're posting everywhere, "Vader lives, Vader lives, Vader lives," which is just stupid. So anyway, that's the interlude. Meanwhile, there's a lot of subplots going on. So I'm going to give you another subplot that is a break from this main story of trying to rescue Han. As you may recall from the original movie, Alderaan, Leia's home planet, is destroyed by the original Death Star. Boom! Causes a great disturbance in the Force, right? So anyway, that's just kind of an asteroid belt now, and there's people hanging out there trying to make something of it. And Leia commissions this Alderaan flotilla, which is a whole bunch of ships head by non-royal people deciding how to figure out what to do with their home world. And somehow, even though Leia commissioned all these ships, the people on the ships doubt that Leia gives a damn, which makes no sense. And while they're in this other interlude, while they're complaining about it and arguing, two ships arrive in that same area. They're Republic ships, and they arrive with big chunks of the old Death Star. I guess what they're doing is the New Republic is taking scrap metal and or large chunks of destroyers from the war that they got from the Imperials, and also big pieces of Death Star, and rebuilding them to make new ships and new stations. So that's interesting. Okay. If you recall back now, once again, the main star is Nora, and she has a son named Temin, who is, he's a snotty little teenager who happens to be very adept at fixing things, and turns out to be a good pilot too, just like his parents. So anyway, he and Sinjir, the former Imperial loyalty officer, who is having some serious identity crises, multiple identity crises, because somehow torturing people makes him feel bad these days. This is a longer interchange between the teenager and the smartass Sinjir. Before they get to the door, Sinjir stops and plants a hand on Temin's chest. Listen, the pouty, angry teenage thing, it's tiring. I know. Does that mean you're going to stop doing it? Temin says, crossing his arms and cocking his eyebrows. The smirk crosses Sinjir's face will not be denied. Oh, you think you're clever, do you? He sighs. At least the boy told that mad droid to stay home when asked. Believe me, I speak from experience when I say that cleverness will earn you as many enemies as it does friends. So take it down a notch. We've got work to do. It's just... But then the boy shuts up. Sinjir knows he's going to regret this in much the same way one might regret sticking a hand into a hive of red jacket wasps in the hope that they might make honey. Hint, they don't. But he asks anyway. Oh, fine. What is it? I don't know what I'm doing here. We're here to visit one of our estimable prisoners. No, I mean like here, like gah! The boy makes a wild, frenetic gesticulation. The sound, the movement, perfectly articulates a specific feeling. That's when Sinjir understands the problem. Ah, the existential here. I don't know what that means. It means you're having a crisis of identity. Temin fidgets. Yeah, I guess. Congrats, my boy. It means you've become a proper adult. So you don't have it figured out? Hardly. I'm utterly bewildered 9 times out of 10. I just happen to make it look good. I don't know what I'm doing here either. I suspect at the moment I have it all figured out, I'll probably die half a second later. Because if there's one mystical energy that powers the galaxy, it's not the Force. It's pure, unadulterated irony. So that's how Sinjir feels. So I like the characters in this, some more than others. Meanwhile, Nora, who is the mother of the teenager we just saw, she is the wife of a rebel, and we don't know if that guy's dead, but she's been smooching up with Wedge Antilles, the famous pilot. But we still don't know, so she feels pretty guilty about that. So she jumps in wholeheartedly into this rescue Han thing, because I guess she relates to Leia missing her husband the same way she misses her own husband. She is it compensation as well for possibly feeling guilty? So they finally catch up with Han Solo, and he is pissy as hell. He's like, screw you guys, I don't need you. Thanks, go ahead and tell Leia I'm fine, all this stuff. But Nora convinces Han that he needs them. And he's really angry for a long time. And she eventually goes, oh, I get it. Han's angry at himself for losing Chewie. Well, no shit. Of course he is. That's pretty obvious, and it was obvious the first time we saw him in the first scene. So there you go. But anyway, when Nora finally convinces Han that he needs them, he says, "Welcome to Team Solo. Hope you can keep up." Now, I personally think that the Team Solo is a very clever name. So there you go. Sinjir, he's probably the most interesting character because he's a turned Imperial who used to torture people. And there's a scene where they actually capture these guys, the good guys, capture an ex-Imperial, and it's his job to get some information out of him, and he uses his technique to scare the bejesus out of this ex-Imperial officer, and he does a really good job out of it, and the guy just spills his guts. But Sinjir also spills his guts literally. He kind of gets really nauseous and pukey after doing such a good job. So I think that his redemption arc, as I like to call it, is one of the more interesting ones. That's as far as I've gone in my notes. We're about halfway through the book. You can see the 3 or 4 bookmarks there. It's a great book. If you can't do, review. Lost your phone off the net. I was alone. Birds in the sky fly so high they don't need